The book is called Pilgrim, and it's by the Canadian author Timothy Findley. You may have heard the expression, never judge a book by its cover. Well, this is a very good example because the cover is awful, but the book is absolutely fabulous. In the dark, surrounded by his study lamps and by his sleeping family, Young had the first of what would prove to be a series of revelations regarding his own immediate journey. An epiphany of sorts, almost religious but not. He eschewed the religious at every turn. All at once, his journal still open before him, he scribbled that happiness is not our goal. And further, that the achievement of happiness deflects us from our true destiny, which is the utter realization of self. The utter realization of self. Young sat back and dragged a handkerchief from a pocket, wiped his glasses, wiped his brow, and wiped his lips. When I came here first, he wrote, to the Burgholzli Clinic at Zurich, it was an entry into a monastery world, a submission to a vow to believe only in what was probable, average, commonplace, barren of meaning, to renounce everything strange and significant, and reduce anything extraordinary to the banal. Henceforth there were only surfaces that hid nothing. Furtwängler's cursory, get it done. Mencken's, all there is what there is. My own, the moon, the moon. Only beginnings without continuations, knowledge that shrank to ever smaller circles, oppressively narrow horizons, and the unending desert of routine. He reached for the decanter and refilled his emptied glass, empty but once, and relit a cheroot that had died in the ashtray. But these were mere distractions. The brandy burned where it should, and the smoke reopened his throat, and the smell of the sulphurous match end made him wipe his eyes yet again. And once more, the pen. For 6 months I locked myself within these monastic walls in order to get accustomed to the life of the spirit of the asylum, and I read through the 50 volumes, 50, of the Allgemeine Zeitschrift für Psychiatrie, from its very beginnings in order to acquaint myself with the psychiatric mentality. I wanted to know how the human mind reacted to the sight of its own destruction, for psychiatry seemed to me an articulate expression of that biological reaction which seizes upon the so-called healthy mind in the presence of mental illness. And yet, the pen stuttered. Jung set it aside and wrote only in his mind. The realization of self is all there is, or can be, or should be. The I that is in everyone, struggling to achieve breath. The I in me. The I in Pilgrim. The I in Blavinskaya. The I in Emma. The I in the child already lying in our bed in Emma's belly. The I in Sybil Quatermain's avalanche. The I in Pilgrim's butterfly. Yes, the butterfly had been as real as I am, sitting here, reaching for its mountains beyond the windows, and I, that blind eye, did not see it, and yet, thank God, the I in Pilgrim did, and it was he who opened the window and set it free. Jung closed his eyes and removed his glasses and set them down away from the light. I do believe him, he whispered. I do believe. For if I could not, I would perish untried.